believe in going our own way, no matter which way the rest of the world is going. We believe in bucking the system that's built to smash individuals like bugs on a windshield. Some of us believe in the man upstairs. All of us believe in sticking it to the man down here. We believe in the sky, and we don't believe in the sunroof. We believe in freedom. We believe in dust, tumbleweeds, buffalo, mountain ranges, and riding off into the sunset. We believe in saddlebags, and we believe that cowboys had it right. We believe in refusing to knuckle under to anyone. We believe in wearing black because it doesn't show any dirt or weakness. We believe the world is going soft, then we're not going along with it. We believe in motorcycle rallies that last a week. We believe in roadside attractions, gas station hot dogs, and finding out what's over the next hill. We believe in rumbling engines, pistons the size of garbage cans, fuel tanks designed in 1936, freight train-sized headlights, chrome and custom paint. We believe in flames and skulls. We believe life is what you make it, and we make it one hell of a ride. We believe the machine you sit on can tell the world exactly where you stand. We don't care what everyone else believes. Amen.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for attending. Bill Davidson was kind enough to honor us at coming to our summit. We have an annual summit every year. We've held it here for the past couple of years. And my wife said, hey, if Bill's coming, why don't we do an Actors Guild type Q&A session with him? And we started to think about that, and we reached out. Bill was thrilled to be able to sit here with us in a small and very intimate setting of dedicated riders and talk about Harley-Davidson and growing up Davidson. So today, we're going to field a bunch of questions. Now, we're not asking questions from the audience. I solicited them. You guys sent in a number of questions. Some were good questions. Some were a little out of the ordinary. So I sort of edited some of those. The only questions that we couldn't, Bill's not going to answer are future questions, future research and development, future product questions. Obviously, there's a lot of confidentiality that goes along with it. It's not because he wouldn't want to answer them, it's because the nature of engineering today is very sophisticated and very confidential. So what Harley has underway and in the future will be confidential. A lot of the questions that he will be talking about, though, are very intimate questions about his family and about growing up Davidson and about the motor company itself. So it's my honor to introduce Bill Davidson from Harley-Davidson Motor Company.
Hello, everybody. Hello. This is an honor for me. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to see all of you here. Your passion, your dedication, your love with our brand is outstanding. And before we get started with the interview, I just want to extend my family's thanks to all of you for supporting us, for living the dream with us, for riding with us, and being great loyal customers. Thank you so much.
Bill, thanks again for joining us. So, if you wouldn't mind, please summarize your early background, where you were born, your mom's maiden name, your high school, sort of a summary of where you were growing up.
Sure. So this is going to be fun today because I get to reminisce quite a bit. My mom's maiden name is actually Shuey, S-C-H-E-W-E. It's actually French. My great-grandmother on my mom's side was actually a French chef. Like my mom and dad, I was born in Milwaukee, and not too far from where the original factory shed was located. I went to school in the Milwaukee area, graduated from high school called Brookfield East High School, and then went on to University of Madison for a year. And then I had a really interesting opportunity to join a dealership, a Harley-Davidson dealership, that was actually located just west of Milwaukee. It's no longer there, but the name of the dealership was Chosa's Harley-Davidson. I joined that dealership and I worked in that dealership for 3 years. And in conjunction with working at that dealership, because the dealership was closer to Milwaukee, I actually transferred from Madison to UW-Milwaukee and finished up my degree there. And the reason I did that is after I graduated from high school, I really knew that my dream was to join the motor company at some stage. Didn't know when, but it was going to happen. My first recollection of riding with my father was when I was 3 years old, riding in the middle of winter in a sidecar, going down to our headquarters to his office at Juneau Avenue. And I remember my mom and dad bundling me up and then putting me in that side hack. And the biggest thrill is Dad would go around right-hand corners, and you guys know what happens when you hit the right-hand corner in a side hack. The hack will come off the ground. And it's okay, because you can handle it. And then, you know, the love affair continued. I started riding by myself. My dad taught me. I started on an M50. I was 5 years old. I haven't looked back. I've got a collection of motorcycles. I'm an avid rider. My earliest is a 36 knuckle. My latest is a 17 road glider with a stage 4. And I'm currently in the market for a 2018 Fat Boy Anniversary 115. So that's a little bit about my background, and I know there's a lot more questions, Ozzie.
Oh, that's great. So just remind us again, for some of us who might not know, and your dad is who?
Thank you. Willie.
Willie G.
Willie G is my dad, and I can't say enough about my father. I am thrilled with the mentoring, the brotherhood. He's really a brother to me. He's a riding partner. We've ridden all over the world together. We have talked about business together. We have challenged one another about business. Part of my career path, I was in product planning for about 15 years. And so I worked directly with styling and engineering and manufacturing. And, you know, we had honest debates to do what's right for the motor company, and more so what's right for our customers. But you know what's so cool is I have the utmost respect for my father. He's a designer, certainly a leader. He's a legend, and he's an artist. He's an avid watercolor artist. That's what he's doing now. He's taking time to paint a lot of watercolors that are absolutely phenomenal. And I grew up as a kid watching my dad paint in his studio watercolors, and I'm pleased to have a number of his pieces in my home today. But you know the most important thing, and it's something that I'm really honored with, is I get to call him Dad, and that's awesome.
So what a great background. Harley-Davidson has ebbed and flowed over the years, and one of the questions that I think is a tremendously important question is, can you tell us a little bit about the periods between 1969 and 1981 living in the Davidson home?
Wow, that was kind of honoring me for that time period. You know, those years were good years and bad years. My grandfather, William H. Davidson, who was president from 1942 to 1972, faced a very tough decision, and that was, do we allow Harley-Davidson to be bought out by a conglomerate who was in the recreational leisure sports business? So AMF, American Machine and Foundry, owned Crestliner boats, Voigt gym equipment, head ski equipment, skedaddler snowmobiles, bowling balls, all that kind of stuff. And in '69, and just prior to '69, there had been some discussions between my grandfather and some other senior execs at Harley-Davidson about possibly selling to AMF. And the reason we did that, we didn't have a lot of money. We were trying to expand because we had customer desire for our products, but we didn't have a worthwhile means of resources or a means to get to that expansion. So we thought by selling to a bigger company who had people resources, money resources, and they owned the manufacturing plant in York. That's how we ended up in York. AMF owned that. So grandfather made a very, very tough decision. And I will tell you a little bit story after I get through this. What we didn't realize is how critical it is as an executive of a company to be close to your customers, to understand the competition, to be a rider, to ride with you guys, right? The executive team at AMF didn't do that. They were your typical ivory tower executives. So the good was the investment into manufacturing allowed us to expand. The bad was they lost sight of product quality, what our customers wanted, and our product plans went in the gutter. And it got really bad. I remember, gosh, I don't know how old I was. I think I was 15. I was in Daytona. I was in a suite watching our motocross team. We had a motocross team. And I was sitting next to the CEO of AMF, Rodney Gott, and explaining to him, I'm 15, explaining to him, the CEO of now our company, what this was all about. Bikes, customers, dealer network. I'll never forget that because I was so in awe that here's this man in charge that as a 15-year-old, I was giving him information that he didn't know. And we began to see over time that our brand was eroding. We were losing market share. We saw that the Honda Goldwing was just eroding our touring market share. And AMF said, we need to develop a Goldwing killer. They wanted a Harley-Davidson Goldwing. How many of you have heard of the Nova project? That was Nova. That Nova was a project that we worked on with Porsche Engineering Services. It was a liquid cooled, like the Goldwing, touring bike, like the Goldwing, done kind of in a Harley way, but more like a Goldwing. We had taken it to running prototypes. I was involved with some of the test riding at the mile track in Milwaukee. And we got to a point where we said, okay, we've got to make a decision. And we decided not to go forward with it. And it was tough as hell to convince AMF leadership that, excuse me, that this was the wrong move to make. That we have to keep our motorcycles authentic. We've got to keep them real. The look, sound, and feel of our products over the years has been critical and has evolved. And we've got to stay true to that. because if we launch this thing, it could be the end. We shelved it, put that money into the Evolution motor that came out in 1984. And the Evolution motor was one of the significant ingredients that saved this company. So let me back up a little bit. I talked about purchase by AMF in '69, and then we went through some of these challenging times. We realized what was happening. In 1981, a little bit prior to 81, they came to us and said, we want to sell you. And when they said that, we were bleeding, losing money left and right. Our P&L, profit and loss balance sheet was horrible, horrible. And in fact, my dad's brother, my Uncle John, when we were offered the opportunity to invest back in the company, my Uncle John was actually number 14, because there were 13 investors. My Uncle John, who was a past president at Harley-Davidson, very financially astute, he said, no, I'm going to retire. This is way, way, way too risky. You guys are not going to be able to turn this around. That's how the dire need we were in. And thank goodness to the loyalty of our dealers and to our customers who did not want to see an iconic company die. We were able to purchase the company back, those 13, one of which was my father, and buy the company back. But now we're faced with, we've got this company that's bleeding, hemorrhaging, right? There's no money. What do we do? And we basically took the company, turned it upside down, shook it a few times, put it upright, and we essentially started over. In 1984,
Bill, I'm gonna back you up to
Please.
1981.
because I can just keep talking and talking and talking.
Tell us, this is such a critical time in our collective history, so, and you have so many good things to talk about. So, in 1981, what was it like in the Davidson home when we were struggling to finance the 13 management buyout from AMF? Tell us about those emotions.
So there's things that are hard to put into words for me. You know, 69, I was pretty young, but I remember going to a Christmas celebration at my grandfather's house, and he was talking to me about his stress, did he do the right thing with selling the company? Because that's the first time it left family hands. When we saw what AMF in the relationship, what was happening with it, he was devastated, absolutely devastated. He kind of took on the blame. And he actually brought that up 2 days before he passed when I was with him. And I said, Grandpa, you can't reflect on that like that. I said, we are in such a wonderful place now. What you did was teach us all a valuable lesson on what not to do moving forward. And so we went through that, and then in '81, when we bought the company back, there was true fear in the family. I'll be honest. We didn't know if we were going to be able to save this. And that fear continued to grow because in 1984, the bank that we took the loan out with in 1981, they backed out. And we had to sign a new banking partner on board by New Year's Day. So midnight, December 31st of 1984. It was probably the most surreal event that I can remember as a family member with the business. Picture Willie and my mom Nancy, myself, my sister Karen, my brother Michael, at the dining room table. Food had been put on the table, and we were waiting for a phone call from our CEO at the time, Vaughn Beals, to let us know whether we were able to secure this additional financial package to keep the company afloat. Mind you, back at our headquarters, in our attorney's office, we had the paperwork filled out for Chapter 11. All it needed was Vaughn Beals' signature. We also had another stack of paper for us to continue. So 7 o'clock rolls on, 7 p.m., no phone call. We now have 5 hours. 5 hours before Chapter 11, bankruptcy filed. About a half hour later, the phone rang, and I can't put into words how we felt, because it was, dear God, please make this happen. And Dad nervously got up, and at that time, I noticed that all of the plates had not been touched. A half hour had passed. We weren't eating. We were so wrapped into and praying for this move forward. And the phone rang, Willie got up, he went to the phone, and all of a sudden we heard this, yes! And Willie jumped about 10 feet in the air, and we were all high-fiving one another, dancing around the dining room table. And it was a happy moment for our family. Yeah, that was, an emotional time, and so happy that what happened. And you know, even at that point in time, we still had our work cut out for us. But what was so neat is the Evolution engine, our test ride, a new Harley-Davidson. That was one of my first jobs at the company. I joined the company in 1984. My job was to develop a corporate demo ride program to get customers on these new motorcycles, to show them the improvements we made over the old chassis, the 4-speed, and the shovelhead. As we came out with the Evolution 5-speed rubber isolation. If you remember the early FLs, they had an oil bath enclosed rear chain, which were a pain in the ass. So it was a good time for all of us, and we slowly got, you know, some very critical formulas in place from a manufacturing perspective, things like just-in-time inventory, which we were able to reduce our balance and our costs from an inventory perspective. Rather than warehousing it in the plant, we could call for it as we needed it. We developed quality circles where guys on the line could stop the line. If they saw a problem, they could stop the line. And this was like a new thing. Otherwise, we would have just, if there was an issue, you don't dare stop the line. That product goes to the dealership, the customer's gonna have an issue. So this was a major rethinking. And the statistical control at all our manufacturing centers, to where we were building parts within minimal tolerances. And we could now gauge whether parts were within those tolerances, again, for quality and reliability of the final product. So all these things rolled up together, new product, new marketing campaigns. We kind of started to poke fun at us a little bit. There was an ad we did, I remember, with Malcolm Forbes and his Heritage Soft Tone hot air balloon. And it was, the balloon was floating over a bunch of bikers. And the tagline was, thank God they don't leak oil anymore. So having that fun aspect back with our brand, back with our name, was awesome. That's also a little bit later on is when we went to Washington, D.C. and petitioned really president and government to put a tariff on products coming overseas. And they granted that tariff to us. And it was a 5-year tariff protection. Because what was happening is products were coming in from overseas, fire sales. They were selling them just cutthroat. And we couldn't compete. We just could not compete. So we're trying to rebuild. They're doing fire sales, so the tariff protection was essential, and we got it. What we did though, and this is what I love, and this is unique to our company and to our people, all of us, including you, because you're a big part of this family. We think creatively, we think smart. And what we did, we said, let's give the last year of tariff protection back to the US government. It was the first time in US history any company had ever done that. And we went to DC and we said, we want to thank you because this 4 years of protection has allowed us to get back on our feet. And as a thank you, we're going to give the last year back to you. And the press was unbelievable. President Reagan actually came to our York facility. I remember that because I remember my mom and dad telling me about the Secret Service guys that were hiding in motorcycle crates. So it was, that's an amazing history. And I just have to lob this in. One of my responsibilities with the company is our fabulous treasure chest in Milwaukee, the museum. You guys, if you haven't been to the museum, please come and enjoy it. It is truly an experience to read and learn about this phenomenal history that we all have a stake in. And I tell people, this is not the motor company's museum. This is your museum. It truly is your museum. Because if it wasn't the loyalty that you guys share with our dealers, share with the motor company, we wouldn't be here. We would not be here. So come to Milwaukee and enjoy your museum. And for sure come up Labor Day weekend because we're having a big party to celebrate 115 years.
So it's been difficult to get Bill to open up here. You did talk a little bit about the Evolution motor, Bill, and I'd like you to revisit that a little bit. Kind of tell us, what did the Evolution motor really mean for the motor company itself, for the brand, and what did it mean for your family specifically?
Well, it was an ingredient to turning the motor company around. And so this engine and the product development behind it was absolutely critical. Because remember, we didn't have any money. And if it would have failed, or we would have had a quality issue, or a part would have malfunctioned down the road, it could have been disastrous. And so the thoroughness and the dedication to doing everything right, no matter what it took, looking at tolerances, looking at performance, looking at heat generation. We were going from cast iron to aluminum cylinders. We were using different technology in the heads, valve angles. It was a completely new oil circulation system over the shovel head. A lot of new. And it's when you put something new into the market, you hope you've done your homework. There's always that possibility that something might surface, but back then, we didn't have the rigor as we do today. I mean, today's product development world is absolutely staggering. It's so exciting, so exciting. So it was a critical component, and you know, for the family, again, we were so hopeful that this new motor, the Evolution motor, was really going to be a home run. And when people took their test ride, they saw that. They felt it. They could feel the performance. They could feel the torque. They could hear the difference in the motor. It wasn't quite as noisy as a shovel. And I love shovel heads. I love all Harley-Davidsons, to be honest. But this Evolution motor was truly a better motor.
Some say, and some of the things that I've read, that the original 13 sort of kept that motor as a secret when they went forward with the management buyout. They knew the value of it much better than the AMF senior executives did.
Yeah, you know, the executives at AMF had us working on a Goldwing killer. Why are we going to follow? We don't follow. Harley-Davidson is not a brand that follows people. We invent, we lead.